Hi everyone, I'm Liz, and today I'm going to teach you how I made um one of these Minecraft Creeper style beanies. So for this tutorial, you're going to need to use a very large hook. I'm using a 10mm hook for this project, and because I'm using such a large hook, I'm going to be using 4 strands of yarn all at the same time. So you could just use one shade of green, like a dark green like I have here, or you could use 4 different shades of green like I've done for this other hat that I've made. As you can see here in the tail, there are 4 different strands of yarn, 2 dark and 2 light. You could also use a camouflage colored yarn like I have used for this hat here. Some other things that you're going to need are some black yarn to do the eyes and the mouth, a pair of scissors to cut off your yarn, and a needle to sew in your ends. So let's get started and learn this tutorial. So I have lined up my 4 strands of green, of different colored green yarn. I have 2 dark ones and and 2 light ones. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a magic circle. So I've tied my loose knot in my threads. I'm going to pull a loop up through the middle of that circle, and then chain 2. So I'm going to be working with with a double crochet stitch for this. So I'm going to place 11 more double crochets into the inside of my circle. So I'm going to yarn over, pull up a loop, and pull through 2, pull through 2 for a double crochet stitch. And now I'm going to do that 10 more times on the circle before I close it. So I'm on the last stitch that I'm adding. So now I have a total of 12 double crochets on my magic circle. So now I'm going to close the circle by pulling on this tail. Now as you can see, I have a closed circle. To get up to the next row, I'm going to reinsert my hook, and then I'm going to slip stitch to that first stitch that I made. And then I'm going to chain up 2. 1 and 2, and that's going to count as my first stitch. So for this next row, I'm going to increase every single stitch, including the one that I just made. So I'm going to yarn over, and into that same spot that I slip stitched to get up to the next row, I'm going to pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2 for my first increase, and then I'm going to increase all along the rest of the row. So I'm going to pull up, loop, pull through 2, and then into the same stitch, pull through 2, pull through 2, and now I have another increase. So I'm going to continue to increase until I get back to the beginning of the row. So I'm on the last increase of the row, and now to get to the next row, I'm just going to insert my hook into that first stitch and slip stitch, and then chain 2 to get to the next row. Oh yes, and I'm going to yarn over first, and then I'm going to go to the next one and pull up a loop and double crochet, and now I'm going to increase that stitch. And now I'm going to do 1 stitch of non-increase, and then I'm going to increase again. So There's one double crochet, and then one more into the same space. Okay, so now I have non-increase, an increase, a non-increase, and an increase, and I'm going to continue doing that pattern all the way around. So I just finished the last increase of the row, and actually I'm going to stop increasing the hat completely, so I'm going to slip stitch to the next row and chain up, and then I'm going to do one complete row all the way around of double crochet without increasing any of the stitches. So I've gotten to the last stitch of my row, and I'm going to slip stitch to end that row, and then I'm going to chain 2 to get to the next row. And now in this row, I'm going to add the face of the creeper to the front of the hat. So I'm going to go on until I get to where the side of the face is going to be, so that I can put the face of the creeper onto the front of the hat. So I'm just going to continue double crocheting without adding any other stitches until I get to the side of the head. So I have done 13 stitches of double crochet to get to the front of the hat from the back here. And now I'm going to do one more. So the 14th stitch, I'm going to pull up a loop and pull through 2. And then instead of pulling through 2 to finish this stitch, I'm going to change colors to do the eyes of the creeper. So to do that, I have these 4 strands of black. I put this white towel here so that you can see better contrast. But I have these 4 strands of black that I'm pulling together, and so I'm going to take my black strands and finish this stitch with those, and I'm going to leave a little bit of a tail so that I can crochet it in as I go and hide it. Now I'm going to pull a little bit on the green yarn just to tighten that last loop. And I want to pull too hard on this until I finish the first stitch. So I'm going to yarn over with my black, and then into the next stitch, instead of crocheting with green, I'm going to crochet with black into the back loops only. So the front loops I'm going to leave exposed so that there can be a line in front of the black stitches. So I'm going to go into those back loops, and then I'm going to take my black tail and my green tail along in the back and pull up a loop around them, pull through 2, pull through 2. And now I have a stitch of black double crochet, and I have that line right here of green over the black stitch. And now in the next stitch, I'm going to do another black stitch, but this time I'm going to leave it open to change colors back to green. So I'm going to yarn over with black, go into those back loops, and pull along all of my tails, pull up a loop, but not pull up a loop with my tails. Keep that in the back. So I pulled up a loop, and now I'm going to pull through 2 and leave that black stitch open. And now I'm just going to push my black yarn aside, and now I'm going to finish this stitch with green. I'm going to pull that black stitch a little bit so that it tightens. And now I'm going to continue in green for another 2 stitches. So, and this time I'm going to work in both loops so that there's no line between the 2 green stitches. So there's 1, And now the second stitch of green I'm going to leave open so I can switch to black again. So pull through 2 and then leave it open. To finish this stitch, I'm going to use my black yarn and pull through those 2 open stitches, 2 open loops, I mean. Pull the green tail slightly to tighten those stitches. And now I'm going to continue for 2 more stitches in black. And because I'm working in black, I'm going to work only in the back loops, like I did for this part of the face. So I'm going to yarn over and into that back loop. I'm going to pull along my green tails, pull up a loop of black, pull through 2, and pull through 2. And now the next stitch I'm going to switch back to green after, so I'm going to leave it open again. Yarn over, into the back loops, pull through a loop, and pull through 2. And now I'm going to move aside my black yarn, finish that stitch with green. Now I'm just going to finish the row with double crochets in both loops. So I'm on the last stitch of the row. Now I'm just going to slip stitch to the first stitch to get to the next row. I'm going to chain up. And now for the next row, I'm going to do a complete row of green all the way around, of green double crochet, without adding any increases or decreases. But when I get to the front of the work, where the eyes are, I'm going to crochet only in these back loops, so that these front loops can be left in the front, so that there can be another line between the green and the black part of the fabric. So I'm going to double crochet until I get to the eyes, and then I'm going to work in those back loops. So I've gotten to the black stitches on the front of the hat. So I'm just going to go into those back loops and pull up a loop so that that stitch doesn't get interrupted. And then I'm going to double crochet, and I'm going to do the same thing every time that I come across a black stitch. So go into those back loops, pull up a loop, and pull through 2, pull through 2. And now that I'm back to a green stitch, I'm going to put in both loops and double crochet. So I'm just going to finish going all the way around the rest of the row, and every time I encounter a black stitch, I'm going to go into into the back loops only, and every time I do a green stitch, I'll go into both loops.